Hi guys, welcome back. I'm going to be doing some astrology updates and forecasts for the week of May 29th to June 4th. I took a lot of notes. There's going to be a lot happening this week, so I wanted to go over some of it, talk about some of the energy we're probably going to be experiencing this week and a little bit of the stuff that we've been experiencing. And then I'm going to jump into some cards and pull some cards for the collective. So to get started, the moon. There's a new moon in Gemini at the end of the week on June 3rd. It's actually the same day that Mercury goes direct and the same day that Saturn goes retrograde. So there's a lot happening on June 3rd that day. Mercury's been retrograde through Gemini and then it went into Taurus, and now it's going to be stationing direct in Taurus. This Mercury retrograde in Gemini was one of the most Mercury retrogrades I've experienced in a long time. Mercury is at home in the sign of Gemini, so very Mercury retrograde things were happening. There's a lot of miscommunications, and I think, any retrograde is a time to review, reflect, revise, replenish if you need to, a lot of the rewords. And this was definitely a time to look over and think about how we communicate, which ways are effective in really communicating about what we want, what we need, who we are, and which ways for us aren't working. I feel like there were a lot of arguments and a lot of talking, but not a lot of listening, a lot of going back and forth and saying a lot of things, but not a lot is actually being said. Does that make sense? A lot of words are being said, but there's not a lot of common ground being reached. There's not a lot of understanding happening. So I feel like that's been a lot of what this Mercury retrograde Gemini has been about. And when it goes direct in Taurus on the 3rd, there's also going to be a new moon Gemini. And I feel like that's a really good fresh start type of energy. I mean, new moons are about that in general, but coming out of a retrograde period and in the sign of Gemini, the new moon, it'll be a nice refresher, what kind of new patterns do we want to establish with the knowledge we have about what needs to change in the ways we communicate. The ways that we think about things, especially with all this Gemini Taurus energy. I've gotten a lot of this energy, I feel, it's about, security versus freedom. Staying the way things are, Taurus, versus adapting to change, Gemini. And so I feel like we've been challenged in those ways to look at those things in terms of our communication, our security, how we think, how we have a narrative surrounding what is security, what it means to us, how important some things are, what things we actually value, and why we value them, what kind of security do they bring. That theme has been really a thing ever since, Uranus and the North Node have been in Taurus. They're really shaking up the things that we find security in, the ways that we feel comfort and the ways that we feel stable, the illusion of security. I think this Gemini Mercury retrograde / Taurus Mercury retrograde really brought up the illusions of what we're holding on to that we think brings us a lot of comfort and stability, but maybe doesn't. A lot of us have these ideas of what comfort feels like and the things that we do to kind of chase it and bring instability for ourselves. And I feel like this has been a challenge to look at, what ways are we doing that and it's not working, or it's not actually providing us the stability we need, or what ways have we fooled ourselves into believing that these things bring us security when really they don't have a huge effect on our lives, or there's a lot of different ways that could go, so I'll leave that there. But yeah, with Mercury going direct, it'll be kind of a refreshing energy with that new moon Gemini. It's a really good time to establish new patterns, new mental patterns, new ways of thinking about these things, new narratives in our head about what these things mean, what security means to us. This is a great time to establish new patterns in communication, what ways are we communicating that are not working, that are not effective, that are not productive, that are not efficient, and how to connect through language, connect physical connection, Taurus, through language, Gemini. More bringing together, less division. In general, with Mercury going direct, it kind of clears things up. There'll be a little bit more clarity. Things will make a little bit of sense, especially with, I feel like this Mercury retrograde was very confusing. There was just a lot that was confusing, and I think things are going to get cleared up with that new moon, with Mercury going direct. But we still do have Saturn squaring off with Mercury. That's been creating that tension that's kind of added a little more fire to, or a little bit more stubbornness to the Mercury retrograde in the ways that we are not effectively communicating. That Saturn has gotten in the way and made us feel the stubbornness of it, whether you felt that within yourself or you felt it from other people around you. There's that stubbornness to change, that stubbornness and resistance to adapt to the changing circumstances, adapt to the changing times that adapt to the evolution of what security means to you, adapt to the evolution of what makes you feel safe in your environment, what kind of environments, what things do you have control over that can make you feel safe, and which things do you not have control over that, you would like for them to, but some things we just need to kind of surrender to and let go of. With the recent eclipses and the Mercury retrograde at the same time, I feel like it's been intense for a lot of people. I feel like it's really shown a light on like what is not working in the ways that we communicate, in the ways that we find comfort and security, in the ways that we hold on to things that maybe we shouldn't be holding on to. I feel like it's forced a lot of us to sit in a place of surrender because it feels like we have no choice but to adapt to this. We have really no choice but to move forward, really no choice but to step into the new, even if it's really uncomfortable, to step into and try to communicate in new ways, even if it's really uncomfortable. There's been a lot of that energy, and that Saturn square Mercury has brought a lot of stubbornness to it. But I think that Mercury energy is very much, the way we think about and perceive security, and how that's shifting, and how do we adapt to that based on our current circumstances and environment. On the 31st, Venus is going to be moving into Taurus. Venus is very at home in the sign of Taurus, so I think this will be a nice respite period for a lot of us. There has been a lot of chaos with the recent eclipses and the retrograde of Mercury, and I think Venus in Taurus is a good time to kind of go inward, take care of yourself, do the things that make you feel good and replenished and rejuvenated, do the things that make you feel well, do the things that, just bring you pleasure and joy and can make you feel like you've gotten some rest and rejuvenation from a lot of this. Because sitting with yourself after a lot of big changes and shifts and transitions, which has definitely been the collective energy with these eclipses and stuff, learning how to sit in that and contemplate and reflect on and let it kind of simmer in and settle in is a good way to kind of let these things take hold and think about where things are going, think about what has shifted, how you're feeling, just really a time to check in with yourself, I guess. And Venus in Taurus, it is going to be conjunct the moon on the 31st, so that'll be really nice to, I just feel like indulgence, and not in the bad way, indulgence in what makes you feel good, what makes you feel comfortable and safe, what makes you feel like things that feed your soul. I think that's a really good time to kind of indulge in those things, and to also like take care of the people around you. And if you have people that you want to show love to, that's a good show love energy. Venus in Taurus is very physical. It's very physical love, physical touch, and also like acts of service type of love, that earthy love. It's a good time to indulge in like the pleasures and the things that just bring you a lot of goodness and wellness. Mars is also going to be conjunct Jupiter in Aries this week. This will be a pretty intense energy. I feel like there is some bad that could come from it, but I see a lot of positive energy. I feel like Jupiter is going to be rewarding. Jupiter rewards. It's going to reward action. I feel like this fiery Aries energy has a lot of us in cardinal energy, wanting to start things, wanting to just go, wanting to get things started. And Mars being at home in the sign of Aries, it wants to go, it wants to make moves, it wants to just make things happen, it wants to be the spark that sets things off and gets things going. And with Jupiter there, I feel like Jupiter is going to reward and bring abundance to the things that you take action on right now. Yes, Jupiter is boundless. Yes, Jupiter struggles with boundaries. Jupiter is ever expanding. It doesn't want to have boundaries. It doesn't want to slow down, especially in Aries. And so, be careful. The actions you could take could feel like the possibilities are endless, which is a great energy. The possibilities are endless, and Jupiter will reward you if you take those leaps of faith. I have like, the image of the Fool card in my head, but also make sure you're doing things from a place of, mulling over it, making sure it's the right decision. There could be a little bit of impulsiveness, but it is going to be a nice burst of creativity and optimism. Like, you may feel like the possibilities are endless. There is no limitations. Just make sure you're respecting other people's boundaries, the boundaries of reality, the things that we're actually capable of. But this is a really good time to start something. If you've been thinking about starting something but you're not sure where to begin, this is a great energy to just start, because I think Jupiter will reward action done out of passion, as long as you're not being, destructive like the shadow side of Mars, as long as you're not being overbearing like the shadow side of Aries and Mars. I think Jupiter conjunct Mars will be a really interesting energy. It just feels like burst of expansion, burst of creativity, burst of positive energy, burst of movement forward. It could be really good. So like I said, on the 3rd, Mercury's going to be going direct in Taurus, and it'll be joining Uranus, the North Node, and I think that's it. Yeah, Uranus in the North Node. But Saturn is also going to be going in retrograde, stationing retrograde on June 3rd. So I've been thinking about this because Saturn in Aquarius has been really interesting. It's been moving through my 4th, 5th house, depending on which house system, but it really has been moving through my 4th house for the last couple years since it's been in Aquarius. And I feel like now that Saturn is approaching kind of the last degrees-ish of Aquarius, we're kind of starting to move towards wrapping up this cycle of Saturn in Aquarius, and it's made me think a lot about Aquarian themes of like what still holds us back, Saturn, what is still holding us back as a collective, as a community, what's holding us back from making true progress. Aquarius is very much about community and progress, technological innovation in general, utilitarianism. I think of a lot of those types of things when I think of Aquarius. And I think Saturn going retrograde in Aquarius is just like, what do we still need to work on? What are we still not solidified? What are we still not comfortable in? What have we still not built a solid foundation in? What have we learned during this Saturn through Aquarius transit for the last 2 years? I think this is going to be a time to solidify some of that wisdom as we move towards the last few degrees of Saturn through Aquarius, and like which ways can we still make progress in this? Because it may feel like we've done a lot of work in that area, whatever house this falls in for you. But with the retrograde, it's time to revise, review, see what still needs work. And I feel like this is going to be a solidifying of the wisdom that we have gained from this Saturn transit, and taking that to move through the last bits of Saturn through Aquarius. And Saturn is going to move into Pisces, I think, early next year, maybe even the end of this year. But that'll be really interesting. But for now, I think that's everything I wanted to go over. We are moving into a very much Aries, Taurus, Gemini era. We usually have a lot of concentrated energy on 2 to 4 signs at a time. And right now it is definitely, we've moved out of the Aquarius Pisces energy that we were in the beginning of this year, 2022. And now we're really focused on the Aries, Taurus, Gemini of things. And I like this energy. I think it's, a great combination of like Taurus, the cultivator, Aries, the beginner. Aries is the starting, gets things started, gets things going. Taurus cultivates and builds upon it, strengthens it, gives it a solid foundation, puts in the time and effort that it really needs. And then Gemini takes it one step further and evolves it. How do we tweak it? How do we make it better? How do we make it efficient in this way? I really like the combination of those archetypes and that energy. But I think that's all I was going to say in regards to some of the energies we're going to be going through this week. But I did want to do a reading, pull some cards, see what comes up, if it reflects some of the astrology that's going to be happening. I think I might do a brief, I'm going to do a brief reading for each of the elements. Let's do that. So let's start with earth signs, because Taurus, I don't know why that spoke to me first, called to me first. Earth signs. Energy for earth signs this week, May 29th to June 4th. Energy for earth signs. Energy for earth signs. Can I get one more for earth signs? Oh, I got a few. All right, I'm gonna take them all. Okay. Earth signs, I feel like some emotional revelation is on the horizon for you if you're not already experiencing that. The Nine of Wands here feels like you've been through a lot recently. You feel very weary. You feel very drained from a lot of the stuff that you've been enduring. Maybe these eclipses, in Taurus, Scorpio axis, and the retrogrades have been a little tough on you. You're trying to endure that energy and push forward. But there's the mental energy is kind of drained. The mental spark that you need to move forward isn't necessarily there. That Knight of Swords in reverse is feeling like mentally like behind, like your brain hasn't caught up to a lot of the exhaustion that you've been feeling. The Six of Wands, though, tells me that something good is coming in the form of you're going to feel proud of something. You're going to feel like you have made progress. You're going to feel like you have conquered something that you've been struggling with. Maybe something that you felt like you really had to been fighting. That Nine of Wands is saying, like, I've been working so hard at this and I feel really drained by it. I just want to feel like I've made some progress and I've done something that feels like an accomplishment, like I've reached some kind of milestone. That Six of Wands is telling me that you're approaching that. The Tower, though, I feel like a lot of this energy has been tough for you. Maybe you've experienced some really sudden or intense shifts in your perspective, in your physical reality, that have put you in a position to feel very emotionally abundant, joyous, just overwhelmed, like an excess of emotion, like your cup is spilling over. It could be like positive emotions or negative emotions. It just feels like a big shift has caused you almost like a emotional outburst in terms of like relief, like you just need to get it all out, like emotional overflow in some way, based on a big shift. Like maybe you've been holding a lot of things in, holding a lot of things back, and all of a sudden you've had this big emotional outpour, and I feel like it's a big relief for you. I feel like you're letting go of a lot of stress and anxiety because you've had some big emotional release, some kind of a big emotional relief that came in the form of a Tower moment, something that shifted suddenly. But it feels like relief. I feel like you're releasing a lot, and it's going to feel like relief, mental relief. You're letting go of the stress, anxiety that you've been feeling around it. Emotional relief. If there's something that you need to something that needs to be cathartic, I feel like that's something for you. Maybe you experience that, or you need to do something that will make you feel like you're channeling your emotions into something positive. Maybe something creative, but it's going to feel cathartic, and I think that's going to help you a lot with relieving a lot of stress. All right, let's move on. Fire signs. I got called to fire signs. Let's do fire signs. And then for fire signs for the week of May 29th to June 4th. Ooh. Can I get messages for fire signs? Messages for fire signs. Messages for fire signs. Defensive. Very protective of yourself. Feeling like you have to protect your things, your material goods, but also your energy. Feeling like you have to defend yourself. Overly defensive. Protective. Yeah, and it's caused a lot of disruption with your stability around home. There's been some tension in the home. Feeling defensive, arguing, feeling like you really have to stand your ground and like state your belief and your point of view just to get someone to understand you. But there's definitely a sense of like protecting my security, protecting what I have, because maybe you're feeling in a place kind of insecure about money maybe. Things are a little shaky. Yeah, but it's very much, I think the illusion around it is being shattered. The illusion of insecurity, like you have to fight and defend and withhold. Like you have to protect yourself and what you have because you're worried about where it's going to go. Like someone's going to take it from you or it's going to slip away from you. It's definitely something that's a mental pattern that's been in your head that you're trying to break out of, something that's kept you stuck in one place mentally, something that's held you back and made you feel kind of restricted. Yeah, and it's kind of felt like it's shut doors for you, or it's closed down opportunity to connect, opportunity to truly like connect with someone, see eye to eye with someone. Can I get one more for fire signs? It's halted progress in a way. It feels like it's halted progress. It's halted maybe plans you were making. Yeah, and the Nine of Cups in reverse. I feel like it's been tough emotionally because you thought things would look differently. You thought this was something that you wanted and maybe it isn't, or it's something that you've been working towards and it's not what you thought it was, or you're disappointed in some way. There's a lot of emotional disappointment here. Things didn't work out a certain way. you're not getting your wish. You have a wish, you have a desire, and you're not getting that. I feel like it's something to do with progress in terms of like protecting yourself. It's something in your head. You feel very trapped in that. You feel very stuck in that energy. It's halted a lot of your progress. And maybe you feel really disappointed in yourself. Maybe it's something that's very reflective and inward. The Two of Cups on the bottom in reverse. I feel like you need to reconnect with yourself. There's an emotional disconnect within yourself that maybe you've been avoiding. It's causing a little bit of disruption in terms of harmony and balance within your home life. It's definitely something inside here and here that needs to be worked out. A little bit of emotional disappointment. That's some stuff that definitely needs to be worked out internally. All right, let's move on to air signs. Air signs. Air signs. Any messages for air signs? Any messages for air signs? Emotional stuff from the past is coming up, and maybe not the most pleasant emotional stuff. Yeah, I also feel like it's something to do with restricting of freedom, feeling a little bit held back, feeling like your emotional past is holding you back. There's something to do with giving and receiving here. I think that there's something from your past that's coming up, and it's made you feel like maybe progress isn't being made in the direction that things aren't going in the direction that you want it to. You feel a little bit uninspired. I feel like it has something to do with giving and receiving. Like there's some old emotional stuff from the past surrounding giving and receiving that's puts a lot of energy around you that makes you feel either restricted or obligated or like trapped when it comes to giving and receiving. And it kind of halts your progress in a way. This feels like a lot of the same energy as the fire sign reading. Openly giving may be something that's a little bit more difficult for you, because there's a lot of guilt and feelings of like stuckness and trappedness, like you owe someone something, you're obligated to do something for someone. There's something about emotional immaturity there. A masculine figure who's too emotionally indulgent. Someone who guilts you for not giving enough. Feeling guilty for not giving enough. The Lovers in reverse. There's a disconnect. There's choices that need to be made, and there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect because there's things not being said. Five of Swords in reverse on the bottom. There's things that aren't being said because the tension is trying to be avoided, but in that it's making things worse. There's communication that needs to be had about this feeling, about I don't know what's a comfortable way for me to give and take that doesn't feel wrong, that doesn't feel selfish, that doesn't feel like too much, like I'm giving too much. I don't want to take too much, but I also don't want to give too much. There's a lot of that energy. And there's like an emotional guilt surrounding it. I'm getting a guilt energy, not knowing how to give and receive openly in some kind of connection or partnership that, you know, you want that divine balance. You want to find that balance, the balance of the masculine and feminine, the balance of the give and take, the seeing eye to eye. You want to find that, but there's a struggle around emotional guilt around giving and receiving. Yeah. All right. Definitely some stuff to work through. I feel like this Mercury retrograde brought up a lot of shit for everybody about like what needs to change. The eclipses too. All right, water signs. Water signs, water signs. Messages for water signs. The ice cream man comes by like almost every day. There's a lot of kids in my neighborhood. Water signs. Six of Wands again. You feeling like you made some progress, or you've like conquered something that you've been struggling with? The Star, and it's making you feel really optimistic and hopeful. I feel like you've made some progress in something that you were really struggling with, and it's making you feel like anything is possible. There is hope for me. There's something about a lack of confidence, lack of believing in yourself, lack of seeing the truth of what you can be, the kind of leader you can be. And I think it comes from either like a positive connection with someone else or a positive rebalancing of emotional energy within yourself. Getting right with yourself, feeling emotionally in balance internally will help you get more of that confidence that you're looking for. Maybe you reached a recent accomplishment and it's made you feel really hopeful about, like, it's helped you boost your confidence. It's made you feel more capable. It's made you feel more optimistic about what else you can possibly do and accomplish. It's given you a sense of rebalancing of things emotionally. Can we get one more for water signs? The Hierophant. I feel like you're learning how to trust yourself more and the knowledge that you have within you, or maybe you're turning to things that give you a lot of sense of stability because of the kind of knowledge or wisdom that you're pulling from. You may be turning to things that give you a lot of wisdom in times of confusion, or in times of like feeling a lack of confidence, something that gives you more strength and stability underneath you that can give you a little bit more confidence when you feel like you know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about. You may be going inward to study something and become a little bit more confident in it by knowing more about it. Knight of Wands, you're feeling very energetically inspired right now. I feel like this milestone or whatever this accomplishment, whatever it may be for you, it's giving you a lot of hope and optimism and a boost of confidence that you needed to keep going, to do the next thing, to get ready for the next thing, to be able to take the next step up beyond that, to step into a leadership position maybe. I'm getting a lot of that energy for you, water signs. So I'm gonna leave it there. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are interested in booking a reading with me, send me an email, DM me on any of my social medias. All the stuff you need to know is in the description box. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Everything means a lot to me, so thank you so much. And I'll check back in next week. Bye.